You can create amazing websites like this one in minutes that allow you to quickly add documentation and even blog about what you're learning. You don't really need to know any coding to do this other than writing things in Markdown, which is like an easy HTML language that's not even really a language. The best part is when we create this website, we're also going to publish it with SSL for free with HTTPS, and well, it'll have a GitHub domain name, but we can also buy a domain and configure it to route to our published website. And I'm going to show you how to configure a CI/CD pipeline so that whenever you make changes and push it to the server, it's going to automatically compile and update your website on the server. It's so cool. Okay, stick around and we're going to build an amazing documentation website. I'm going to show you some of the salient features right off the bat. Of course, once you get started, you can just take it however you want to take it and start playing around. So let's get started. We're going to start with the getting started. Go to MkDocs Material, just type that into Google and you're going to find this website. And let's go to getting started. The only really prerequisites we have are having Python installed. So if you don't have Python installed, just Google Python, install it. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a project folder. I'm going to do this in my demos folder. So we'll come in here, go new folder, and let's call it, my awesome website. Let's come in here. The other thing I would recommend is that you install VS Code. Like I said, we're not really doing any coding, but just having it open in VS Code, I think just makes it a lot easier to actually write your Markdown. So if you don't already have VS Code, go ahead and install it. Okay, so I'm gonna open up a terminal. The first thing that we really want to do is create a Python virtual environment. That way we can just install all of our Python dependencies to this virtual environment. So to do that, we're going to issue the command python im virtual environment, and I'm just going to call the directory virtual environment. So that's just going to create this directory within our project. And then now I'm going to activate the virtual environment. So if I look in this folder, you can see that we have this scripts here, and we're just basically going to call that activate. So we're just going to type in virtual environment scripts activate. Okay, so now we are activated. Now we can actually run these commands. So I'm going to go ahead and install MkDocs Material. So pip install MkDocs Material. And now that we have that installed, we're going to start a new project. So we're going to say MkDocs new and then dot for this particular folder. Okay, so now we have our docs folder and our configuration file. So now we can go ahead and serve up our website. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, it's already up and running. I can go ahead and just highlight this and paste that. And that's what it looks like so far. So not super sexy, but let's go ahead and fix that. So let's jump over to the next page here, creating your site. We just did this, and then we're gonna start a configuration. So the first thing we'll do is add in the material theme. That's absolutely necessary. So as you see, as we make changes, we have a hot reload. And this is what our website already looks like. So pretty nice. So let's go ahead and create a new doc or a new page. And let's just see what it looks like without any additional configuration. So let's create a about.markdown. And we'll just say my cool about section. That one hashtag means that this is a title. And then we're just going to add some paragraph text. Say, I am a software developer. And let's do a hot reload. So we can see that we have 2 pages now. We have our welcome page. And we have our next page that we just created. And you can see we have those two high-level pages here, but I'd kind of rather them be up here. So let's go ahead and configure that real quick. So I'm going to jump over to setting up navigation. And I would say a lot of these navigation configurations are really nice, and we're just going to go ahead and throw them in. So we're going to add navigation instant. Let's go ahead and do, oh, that one is insiders only. So let's go ahead and throw in progress. So nice little progress indicator, instant preview. Sure. Why not? Anchor tracking. So the URL and the address bar is automatically updated as highlighted in table of contents. So, oh yeah, that's so cool. Oop, let's throw that in here. Make sure this is nice and tabbed correctly. And then here we go, navigation tabs. So let's get the navigation tabs in there. Okay, let's go ahead and save that. And here we go, my cool about section. So let's actually change that to about. I don't know, doesn't look too good. And the way that we can kind of customize our page tree, and I definitely recommend this. This gives you a lot of customization here. So we are going to do home, and that's going to be our index, and then we are going to have about, and that's going to be the about.markdown, and that should be the title of that tab. So let's go and hot refresh that, and then now we have home and about. Okay, what other cool features can we just go ahead and throw in here? Sticky tabs. So this will make it to where as we scroll down, those tabs are going to remain sticky. So you can see what that would look like. I like having the sticky tabs. So yeah, we also have the ability to create sections here. This is for the various pages in our page tree. You can see what it looks like with sections and without. I kind of like the way that it looks with sections, so let's go ahead and throw that in there too. And to demonstrate this, let's actually create some additional pages in our about. So let's create a folder, and I will just call this about, and we'll say new file, I don't know, we'll call it childhood. And then here, I'm gonna go ahead and throw in this about page in here as well. So now, instead of having that main about, I'm gonna have subsections. So let's throw in another tab, and then let's say about me, and we'll say this is gonna be in the about folder. And then this is the about.markdown. And then I'll say childhood, whatever. Okay, let's see what that looks like. So now I go to about, and I see the about me, and I also see childhood. So we can add navigation, expand in here. And I like having these all in here because you can comment them out later, and then you know kind of what they do. So we can have an index page. That's pretty nice. Without, you won't have a page for that root page. And then table of contents. So this is really nice. So if I go into childhood, let's maybe look up a Wikipedia article or something. Let's look up Michael Jordan. Okay, so early life. Let's do early life. All right. Let's just copy all this and go early life, throw that in there, and then what do we want? College career. Let's get all this. College career. Okay, and professional career, of course. Don't really want to copy too much extraneous content. Okay, let's make that a heading 3 there. Professional career. And then let's do another heading 3 here, hot reload. All right, and you see we have a table of contents here now. So as we scroll through, we see that it actually highlights each section in the table of contents. Now you can have the table of contents integrated with your sections. I kind of like it on the side but we can go ahead and see what that looks like. And now we can see that the table of contents is over here, which that looks good as well. Now let's see. Yeah, there we go. So we already have the search built in. So let's see, Dolores, it finds it right there. It's so amazing, the search. Okay, what else do we have up here? Back to top button. So when we scroll down, we get that back to top button. Let's add that. Okay, let's look at setting up the site search. So plugins, we need a plugins section. Let's throw in this plugins search. We might want some additional configuration, so let's do that. Theme, search suggestions, of course. Search highlighting, let's get that in there. Search sharing, sure, looks awesome. Let's check out the tags. This is a nice feature. So add in the tag plugin, and now we can add tags to the front matter of our pages. So let's try this out. Let's go ahead and add some front matter here. This is basically just metadata for the page. And we'll say, I don't know, we'll obviously say Michael Jordan, and maybe we'll also just give it an about tag. And now we have these tags up here. We can see them right there. And what's nice is we can also have a tag index page. So to create that, let's come in here and go tags.md, and we'll just put in a heading of tags. I'll say, I don't know, my tags. And then we're gonna add in this comment right here. And let's make sure we have this in our tree. So I'll say tags. This is going to be tags.md. And in the plugins, we do need to specify the tags file. So we're going to do that, tags.md. That way it configures it properly. And with the reload, we can now see all the various tags that we have throughout all of our posts, and it'll show each page that has that tag, and then we can jump right to it. So very nice. Now, this is a little too bright for me. I kind of prefer having a dark mode. And so check this out. All we have to do is add this bit of code to the palette. So put this right below the name. Give that a save. And now we have an option for dark mode. And that's so cool. Yes. Okay, and another important feature, we're documenting stuff. There's a good chance you're probably a software developer. Let's throw in some code documentation. So add in a folder for coding, and I'll say, I don't know, my first Java file.md, and I'll say, I learned Java. Okay, let's throw in a code block and see what happens. So person name equals Thomas1. That's good for now. And let's come to our file tree here. I'll say, call it code docs. And then, yeah, we'll come down and say Java. And then I'm gonna put in my first Java file.md. That needs to actually be the directory. So coding and hot reload, code docs. And there we go. So we have code block, but let's see if we can get that format a little bit better. So let's say that it's Java. And look, we don't have anything because we need to configure the plugin. All right, so for code blocks, we're gonna come to code blocks, and we're gonna copy this block here, throw this under plugins, and let's give that hot reload. Boom, now we have some really pretty syntax highlighting. Let's see what else we can do with that. Let's throw in a title. So title equals person.java, and we have person.java, and let's get that copy button in there. So we have features, let's throw it right in there. And now we can copy the code. Super nice. The last thing I want to show you is blogging, because it is really easy to set up blogging, and now you can kind of have a place to just throw in your thoughts, and your blog posts can kind of turn into documentation as they mature. So let's look at plugins here and let's go to blog. Okay, so what we're going to do is add blog to the plugins. Okay, and that automatically created a blog and post folder. So let's create a file. I'll call it 2024-07-11. Say hello world.md. And so what we need to do is go to our config file, and we're going to add a section for blog. And here we're just going to navigate to the index.md. Okay, so our blog post actually needs some metadata in it. So let's give it some metadata. So that's going to look like this. We're going to have a date. We can add it to different categories, and we can of course add different tags. So we'll say, today I learned how to deploy a documentation site. Okay, let's see if that hot loads. Got a blog here, and now this is our main page. It shows highlights of different blog posts that we have. This is showing the file name, so let's actually change that. We can do that by adding in a title here. My first blog post, and hot load that, and now we have my first blog post. It's in the category documentation. If I look at that, I can see all the blog posts that have that category. And of course, if I want to look at tags, I can also tag that. So it's got the MkDocs tag. I can go to my tags and I can see that that blog post is now listed there. Super cool, really easy to start blogging. Now we're going to talk about version control and Git. Git is a version control implementation where we can have one master code branch, and we can easily create branches off of that and be able to merge them, and we can see all of the commits that we make to any of the branches. So if I make a new post, I can commit that. And if I make another post after that, I can commit that as well. If I need to revert back, I can easily do that because I have a log in my version control of every commit that I make. Now, the really cool thing with Git when you're using GitHub is that you can have an action happen whenever you make a commit. So if I make a commit to my master branch, I can then configure GitHub to deploy my site automatically. So to do this, we're going to need to initialize a Git repository in our source folder. So let's go ahead and do that. And it's going to be looking for changes made. Okay, so it says there's too many active changes, and the main problem is that we haven't added a git ignore file. So we don't want all of this information in our virtual environment folder. So what we're going to do is create a .git ignore, and we are going to ignore that virtual environment. We don't need that included. And if we do build our site, it's going to create a folder called site. We also want to ignore this from our version control. Well, let's try closing and reopening this guy. Okay, so you should create this git ignore file before you initialize a repository, and you can see that we've only added 9 files. That's all we need in the version control of our code. So I'll call this initial commit, and we'll commit that. Now you can see if I look at my Git graph here, I have an initial commit. So if I create another blog post, let's just come in here and say, I don't know, my second post.md, and let's get some metadata. I'll put all this in here, the second blog post, and let's say that this is February 1st. Let's go ahead and do that. You see we've changed one file in our source control. I look at the blog, got to activate that virtual environment again. And we see our second post right there, click on it, and we've got our second post. Now I can commit my changes, added second post. And I can see in my Git graph that I have a new commit, and I can see exactly what was changed. So to get this awesome website that we just created in a few minutes onto the internet, right now it's just hosted on my local computer, not doing any good, we need our repository to be published to the cloud. So what we can do is go to GitHub. If you don't already have a GitHub account, go ahead and create one. It's free to create. This allows you to have a Git repository in the cloud as well, so that you can have your commits locally and in the cloud. That way, if you lose your computer, you can easily clone your repository again and have all those commits on your local device again. So one thing that we can do is go to publish branch, and I've already integrated GitHub with VS Code, pretty easy to do. And now I can just, I'm gonna go ahead and make this a public repository. Make it public because if I'm gonna have it also host a page that's publicly viewable, then the repository needs to be public. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm gonna call it, sure, my awesome website. And now it's published. So let me open up my GitHub, go to my repositories, and I see I have my awesome website. And here it is. So how do we have this create or build the website for us? What we're gonna do is come over to the settings of the repository, come down to pages, and we're basically gonna have a website, a page. We're gonna have it deployed by GitHub Actions, okay? And you can see that you can also have a custom domain point to this page. We'll do that later. I'm gonna have enforce HTTPS. So now all we need to do is have a CI/CD flow. To do that, we're going to create a new directory. We'll call this .github. And then in here, we're going to create another directory called workflows. And in here, create a YAML file. We'll call it CI for continuous integration. And now I'm just gonna paste in a flow that I've already built. You can find this in the link below in the description. This is just going to say, hey, whenever a push is made to the main branch, that's the branch that we're currently on, run this flow. It's basically gonna spin up a Linux environment, right? And it's gonna check out our repository. It's gonna install Python. It's gonna install our dependencies, which is just the MkDocs installation. It's going to run the build command to create the command, and then it's going to upload the site as the page for our repository. So I'm gonna save that, and we're gonna push this branch. So I'm gonna say added workflow and go and commit that. And now sync changes. That means I'm gonna push it up to the cloud, to my GitHub, my remote. And now I should have a workflow running on my actions. So let's see. Let's see what happens here. I'm gonna wait for this. So this is our CI/CD pipeline. Basically means when changes happen to the source code, something happens. And in this case, we're building the site, and then we're gonna publish the site. Okay, the workflow is done. So that means, let's go back to settings, and let's go to pages, and it says your site is live. Okay, visit site, let's check it out. Boom. Here's our site. It's hosted on the internet. This is available to you right now. And it's got SSL security with it. So we're already done. Now, this might not be your favorite URL. And if that's the case, all you gotta do is just go buy one. You can get one for $3 on GoDaddy or AWS. Once you do purchase one, you can then just come in here and paste it into your custom domain. And if you don't want to buy a domain, then you've got this site. It's really not that bad. And this is what the MkDocs site uses itself. The MkDocs site, we can see that they're doing the same thing, right? they just have it on GitHub. Now let's go and test out making a change to our code. So let's add one more documentation. Let's go to the about and let's add projects.md. Let's say I've got YouTube videos. Let's say I have Android apps. Let's say web development. You can find my YouTube videos, and we'll do, say, add a link here. So I need to add this to my navigation here. So I'll say current projects, and then we'll say about/projects.md. Make sure it looks good here locally, about current projects. Find my YouTube videos here. We might need to actually write out the whole link there. https:// Let's try that. There we go. So if I click that link, boom, youtube.com. Okay, let's see if these changes take effect on our publicly available free hosted website here. So I'm going to say added my projects. Commit that and sync it, and let's just wait for this to deploy. Okay, it's deployed, and then let's jump to our actual website here, and we can see that we've got the current projects. There are multiple ways to configure this pipeline. So for example, if you don't want your source code to actually be available, then you could create a separate GitHub repository and have your source code be private, and then just push your build to the other repository. Or if you want to use an actual hosting service like AWS, you can have your pipeline build the project and push it to an S3 bucket, for example. And that's still only going to cost you probably pennies, really, for that S3 bucket. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button. If you have any other questions about material for MkDocs or want me to demonstrate anything else, please let me know in the comments. And subscribe to the channel to see more content like this. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.